Lois, episode 14, The Eradicator. And it's your boy Icon for some more DC TV. And I'm glad they actually cleared up the whole thing, because the Eradicator was basically like the crystal that Morgan Edge was using to transform people into Kryptonian hybrids. And in the last episode, he flew too close to the sun, and he basically absorbed all the crystal's power, and he turned himself into the Eradicator. So now Morgan Edge has the ability to create, Kryptonian hybrids. Like, that's his power now. So now, because of that, and because he's transformed himself into the Eradicator, the town is freaking out. Smallville's going crazy, and everybody's losing their ish. Like the general, he's still got, like the military presence out there, and people are upset about the military presence. People are wondering why the military is still there. Now, the military is still there, obviously, because Morgan Edge escaped, and they know that he's going to do something crazy, and they're just trying to protect the people for when he comes back, but they don't want to actually tell the people that. And then Chrissy, Lois's boss, she pissed me off in the episode, because in our last episode, she gave Lois a hard time when Lois knew information about Morgan Edge, but she didn't want to say. Chrissy was like, oh, that's not journalistic integrity, and I'm ashamed, Lois. You're keeping information and secrets. She got all mad and like pissy and everything. And then in this one, because the businesses are taking a hit because of Morgan Edge and because of the military presence, she comes to Lois and she's like, oh, by the way, I got an offer to sell the Gazette, and I'm about to sell it. I'm about to cash in. And I'm just like, what happened to journalistic integrity? I'm just like, I can't stand this girl. But anyway, so they go down to the town hall meeting so they can ask questions and find out what happened. While they're at the town hall meeting, Lois basically ends up telling everybody the truth, that Morgan Edge did escape, and they should be concerned, which is why the military presence is still here, because they asked them, they were just like, oh, why are you still here? And they were just like, well, because we're just trying to make sure everything's okay, and we're doing, like our investigations. But again, like they just flat out just didn't want to say that Morgan Edge was around. So now that Lois spilled the beans, the town's a little, they're a little concerned. And then there was one woman, the woman from earlier on in the season whose son became one of Morgan Edge's test subjects. She came back and then she was like, oh, they're lying about what happened to our children, and I have the proof. And then she had a piece of paper signed by the general and everything. She was just like, oh, you knew what happened to my son this whole time and you said nothing. And then, and then Lois is just like, listen, you just need to calm down. We'll get everything straightened out. And then the woman comes out of nowhere and she's like, you don't know what it feels like to lose a child. And I was like, here it comes. I was like, here it comes. And then as soon as she said that, they panned on Lois, and Lois started tearing up. And even Clark, like when the woman said, you don't know what it feels like to lose a child, even Clark was like, oh shit. Clark knew it was about to go down. So, but then, the general got the call. He said that they found Morgan Edge in Metropolis. So everybody packed up and they went to Metropolis. Superman and Steel went down there. They ran up on Morgan Edge because he busted his assistant out of prison. So he got her now. The two of them ran up on the two of them in Metropolis. And he said, oh, Kal-El, he was like, this is your city that you love. The Metropolis is the city you want to protect. He's like, so it would be the first thing that I destroy. And then he set him up because since now he is the Eradicator, and he can create, Kryptonian consciousness and put them into people on his own accord, he made new Kryptonian people that he had hidden in Metropolis. So now there's this whole big fight where Superman and then Steel, they're fighting against like the Kryptonian hybrids, and they're doing this whole big thing. And then, Morgan Edge, he's just like, oh, I'll take everything that you love most dear, Kal-El, whatever. So then after they basically, we can say they defeated them, but basically after they stopped the Kryptonian hybrids from destroying Metropolis, they end up flying back, they end up talking to the general again, flying back and having a conversation with him. And then they were just trying to figure out, like what's Morgan Edge's plan, because he dipped. So he has to be going somewhere. There has to be something that we're just not seeing, and they were trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, the boys, Jordan earlier, he was talking to Steel about the suit, and then he had mentioned, that like him and Natalie had built the suit together. Jordan said that was cool, and then Steel got mad. He was like, there's nothing cool about what happened to my Earth and my daughter and my children. I feel like the Earth 1 version of his daughter is here. And because the whole thing with Lois, because they're making this whole big thing about Lois, because they brought up Lois losing the baby again. And they have John Henry Irons going crazy, getting angry at Jordan because of the whole thing with his daughter. And I get all that, but it feels like they're bringing this up for a reason. I'm going to say it again. The doppelganger Earth 1 version of Steel's daughter is on this Earth, and she's probably going to pop up in the season finale. So then Jonathan ends up talking to the girl, that was trying to pump the information from him. She apologized. She told him that she was from Central City and that her dad was a criminal, which means her dad most likely got arrested by the Flash. And when she brought that up, the first thing that popped in my mind was her dad is a metahuman. And I feel like we're going to find out in season 2 that the girl's dad is a metahuman who's going to escape from prison. And then maybe we'll get a Superman Flash crossover when the Flash comes over to Smallville to try to take down, like the dad. So mark my words, I called that one. They end up going to a party. And Sarah wasn't invited to the party because everybody's still mad at her dad, for taking Morgan Edge's side. So they kind of like blacklisted the entire like Lane family. The Lane family ended up, first they were going to leave. Then they decided to stay. Then they decided to leave because the dad got a new job. And then Sarah cursed out her parents and then she called her parents idiots. And I'm just like, how y'all let her get away with talking to y'all like that? Because if it was in my household back in the day, you'd have got your ass beat. But that's a completely different subject altogether. But let's just say the Lane family isn't very equipped with the leather strap. So moving right along. Because Morgan Edge is on the loose again, the general now, he's basically just like, all right, I need to protect our family, so he needs to go get the boys. They got invited to like this party. And like I said, like Sarah wasn't invited, but then she ended up coming when she found out that her parents were going to move, to a different city. She's talking to Jordan. The two of them are having a conversation. She's just like, oh, my parents are leaving. They're trying to find out why. And then some random black girl, she's like, turn on the TV. And then they see what's going on in like Metropolis with the whole Morgan Edge situation. And then after that, like the general pops up at the house party and he's just like, yo, I came to get my kids. And then he takes like, Jordan and Jonathan along with Sarah. He takes them in the car and he tries to get them to safety because, like I said, he's trying to protect his family. Then we find out that the reason why Morgan Edge dipped during like the whole battle, like the whole Metropolis battle was basically just like a red herring to like trick him because he's trying to go after like the real prize. The real prize was once both boys were in the general's custody, Morgan Edge ran up on his car, blew up the car, knocked out, like the general, Sarah and Jonathan, and then he basically snatched up Jordan and he dipped. So they're going to have some explaining to do to tell Sarah why this whole thing happened. He snatched up Jordan, took him back to his sand fortress of solitude, and Morgan Edge, because he's the Eradicator now, he used his power to put the consciousness of his dad inside Jordan. So now Jordan is evil. Jordan is Morgan Edge's father. And if Superman doesn't do something soon, his father will take over and he'll lose Jordan forever. And the reason why he chose to put him in Jordan's body specifically is because Jordan already has the Kryptonian powers that are slowly manifesting. So then like Lois starts freaking out. She starts crying, like John Henry Irons, he's upset. Everybody's upset, like Jordan, like Jonathan's arms falling off. He's bleeding, the general bleeding. Everybody's beat up. And now we got to save Jordan in the next episode, which is the season finale. So this was an interesting cliffhanger because the whole thing about putting the dad's consciousness into Jordan, I did not see that one coming. I always like when things that can happen that still surprise me. And I was very much surprised by this one. And, I want to, obviously I'm going to see what's going to happen because I like the show, but I'm definitely I'm eager now to see how the whole thing ends and how we wrap it up. There was one situation though, the whole thing with Chrissy talking about how the Smallville Gazette is going to go out of business unless some finances come in immediately. I swear, if in the end, in the season finale, in the end, if Lex Luthor shows up and talking about how he just bought the Gazette and he now purchased he bought Smallville to rebuild Smallville, and Supergirl's Lex Luthor, Arrowverse's Lex Luthor, if he shows up on Superman and Lois to be the villain of season 2, I will internally die because he is an awesome Lex Luthor and he needs to be on every single Arrowverse show as much as possible. So can we please make that happen? That's what I'm hoping for and that's what I'm praying for. So that was it. And thank you for tuning in. So we got some things going on here. So like I said, Jordan's the bad guy now. Jordan's the bad guy now. And, let's see what Clark does about it. We'll see what happens, with the doppelganger of Steel's daughter. And we'll see what other things happen as well. Then you'll see if we can close out some chapters on certain people's storylines. So let me know in the comments section. Let me know what you think is going to happen with John Henry Irons. Let me know what you think is going to happen with the Jordan situation. Do you agree that Lex Luthor should pop up on the show or not? Share your thoughts below and we will continue to talk about it. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram. Check out my other videos because I got Titans. Titans is back. We're definitely doing Titans. I'm doing Marvel's What If. We're still finishing up Legends of Tomorrow and everything else that's going on in between. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So until next time, up and away as always. And for the Man of Steel until the season finale, I'm out this. Yeah!